Good morning, everybody. It says we are live, but we know StreamYard and YouTube lies, and it takes like 15 seconds for us to get live. All right, first one in here was ground fog at 11:19 last night. Guys, when you jump in here, give me a 2 before in the chat, and we will start this joker up here in just a second if I can revive my laptop. Yes, we got it revived. All right, guys, welcome to Clickbait Coffee. Today is Friday, January 16th, and it's cold outside. So it's warm down here in the basement, though, or in the bunker of where we're sitting. But we're gonna get some snow. It's gonna be like kind of warm, and then as the day goes on, it's gonna start getting colder, and then there's like 70% chance of rain/snow. 60 old man growing. Good morning. Thanks for jumping in here. But yeah, so we're gonna get like some snow and rain, and of course, my youngest son's excited. He's like, "Oh, we're gonna have some snow," but then he's mad because it's Friday and we're gonna have snow over the weekend. And he's like, "I don't get to miss school," and I'm like, "You'll be okay." I was like, "If it snows this afternoon and we get any, we'll go out and play in it." So, Greg New, good morning, and Greg Skeens, good morning. So, and Patty, good morning. Patty's I got my coffee, and it's 32 in Kansas. It's let me see. I don't even know what the temperature is right now. All right. It says it's 32 here, and it's supposed to get up to 47 at like lunchtime, and then it's supposed to start falling throughout the day. L2 Survive, good morning. How are y'all? All right. Truth in advertising. I have a sinus infection, and it is whipping my butt. I didn't do much of nothing yesterday. I woke up, Wednesday night after we got done with the live with Shelly and I and Darren. I was like, I went in, took a shower, started getting ready for bed, and my head felt like it was in a vice with all the sinus pressure and everything like that. And I'd started on some medicine. It whipped me. I didn't do much yesterday. I was like, I don't feel like doing a bunch of crap. So I did some stuff around here and kind of laid around. But this morning I'm feeling a little better, but not 100%. After the live, I've got a couple meetings, and they're going to pack some orders and do some stuff like that and kind of take it easy today while I recuperate. But I wanted to be on here with y'all because I like doing this. So put up with my coughing and my hacking this morning, and everything will be good. But this morning, we're going to talk about how long could you stay in your house? So we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. But I look at it, and, most people are planning on, staying at their place and stuff. And I'm like, this would probably be a good topic to do. So we'll jump into that here in just a few minutes. And Melanie's here. Cold and windy and snowy Indiana. Mel, keep that stuff up there. We're going to get a little bit. I would like it if we got 2 or 3 inches of snow and then it was gone in like a day. I'm fine with that. This stuff that hangs around for weeks and weeks and weeks, I just don't. I get tired of it. After about a day, and I'm like, I wish this stuff would melt and go on about it. I don't know if y'all saw, Shelly had a set of twin lambs born. I think it was yesterday. So she had that. Randy sent me a text to those. Then Shelly sent me a text too. And I'm like, cool. And I have not been down. I went last night and checked on the lambs checked on the sheep before I went to bed. There was nothing down there. I've not been down there yet this morning. But after that, after the show, I'm going to run down and check on everybody. And knowing my sheep, they probably had a lamb last night while it was cold, just like they always do. So we'll run down there and check on those. I've still got four ewes that need to lay them out. So hopefully we'll have a bunch of twins. It'd be nice if everybody had a twin and we had 8 lambs down there. So let me see. Darren's here. Hey, and a good ham guy has a weather station on the wall to at least last report of the temp. I need to fix something. I really would like to get one of the outside weather stations and put it up and then put it down here in my office to where I can just glance up at it and see. I know they've got them at Cabela's because I've looked at them a couple times. I need to run and get one of those where I can just glance up at it and be like, oh, it's 34 outside. But I'm kind of spoiled. My thermostat on the house has a outside temperature sensor because the furnace unit we're running here is a dual fuel unit. It's got an electric heat pump, and then once it drops below 34 degrees, the propane will kick on as heat. So I've got an outdoor temperature sensor, so I just use it. I glance and see what the temperature is outside. And so I'm kind of spoiled with that. It's nice. It's like I can look and be like, oh, it's 42 degrees or whatever it is. It's nice to have. And honestly, one of those messed up one time, and it was not working right. And I'm like, something's wrong with this. So I called my HVAC buddy. He was like, hey, I need one of those new things. And he's like, come by the shop. I'll give it to you. He's like, they're gravy to install it. Literally, it took me more time to take the cover off the unit than to put the new temperature sensor back in and do that. But that, I tell you, little things like that you know how to do at your house will save you so much money. And that goes in with skills and stuff like that. Knowing how to do stuff. I mean, if you were to call some company and have them come out and do that, you're probably going to have at least $150 service call on top of the part. And then they're going to double their money on the part. So a $5 part's going to be $10. I did the same thing with a capacitor. A capacitor went out on the HVAC unit a couple years ago. I went out and got the number on it, called my HVAC buddy and was like, hey, I said, you have any of these? He goes, yeah. He said, we keep those. He said, I'll have it sitting up front. I was like, set 2 of them out for me. The part was like, I don't know, maybe $15. So I grabbed 2 of those so I'd have a backup. Ran out, took the unit off, took the capacitor out, hooked the new one in, fired the unit up. It was ready to go. So it's knowing skills and stuff like that is an amazing thing to have. That, I mean, you can save tons of money on it. And and another thing, we've got our unit down here in the basement, the condensation pump. Those condensation pumps they don't last like they used to. The last house I had, I think I lived there 8 years, I think, is how long I lived there. And that stupid thing, I think I replaced the condensation unit or the little condensation pump. I think I replaced it 1 time. I've lived in this house 12 years now, somewhere right around there. And I've replaced probably 5 of those condensation pumps. And I would finally get tired of it because it would fill up. When it stops working, it'll fill up the drain pan, and there's a sensor in there. Once the water gets so high, it'll shut everything off. And it always seemed to happen at night when you couldn't run to Home Depot or Lowe's and get a new pump. So I went in and I bought 5 of those pumps, and they're relatively inexpensive. So I bought 5 of those. So there's 5 of those sitting on a shelf right by the indoor unit in the basement. And if something goes wrong, it's like, okay, we'll just slap a new condensation pump in. And it saves you time and money running into town, grabbing one of those and stuff like that. So it's like you're saving money in the long run by just stocking some of that stuff and stocking stuff that you need all the time. And Cup V Farmers here. And L2 Survive. Tempest has some good weather stations. Pacific Northwest Weather Watch on YouTube is always talking about it. Let me write that down. I might check it out. I would like to have one of those because it would be cool. It would be cool to have one of those sitting here and I could just glance up at it and roll on and be like, hey, it's 42 outside and the humidity and all that stuff. I had one of the outdoor sensors down at my shop because I like to know what it was outside and what it was inside in the shop. And it would tell me all that stuff. The batteries went dead. It's kind of a cheap, I think it was like a $10 deal. So I will pick up one of those pretty soon. But guys, Homestead Meetup. If you are around, we got people coming in from 4 different states. We've got Kentucky, Tennessee, Indiana, Ohio. The Homestead Meetup. That is going to be January 31st in Bowling Green. It's out at the Expo Center. Same place as where we have the festival is where it's at. But that's going to be January 31st. The 2 things we ask is that you go to the website, put it in your cart, and check out. It's $0. So literally you can add, if there's 5 of you coming, put 5 tickets in the cart, check out. It won't cost you a dime to do that. And then also bring a covered dish. We're going to have a potluck lunch, and everybody gets to sit around and hang out. Dana Russell from Russell Homestead, she's going to be doing a fermentation class and showing us all about doing fermented foods and stuff like that, which is going to be super interesting. She is a wealth of knowledge on stuff like that. And then Josh is one of Shelly's son-in-laws. He's going to be showing about winemaking. So hopefully he'll have a little bit of wine there for everybody to taste, but he's also going to show you how to make it, which I know a lot of people are interested in that stuff. And then one of the biggies we've got, I finally got everything fixed and set and ready to go. The radio comms class, the emergency comms stuff that Brian and Susan from S&B Homestead Radio, they're going to come up and teach a class. It's going to be a one-day comms class. We're going to go over, and let me pull it up. All right. It is going to be May 30th. It is on the website right now, live. It is under the training tab on the website. This is what Brian and Susan, this is what we talked about. This is what I wanted them to do. Things that we're going to learn. The different types of amateur radios and GMRS, FRS, MERS, stuff like that. The different types of radios, your UHF and VHF radio basics, when to use UHF and VHF, you know, your HF radio basics, and when to use HF radio, your high frequency. Antenna types, we're going to go over a bunch of different antenna types, stuff for your house, your vehicle, and expedited field antennas, how to get those up, when to use those. Also, power supply options. You know, are you going to run like a dedicated power supply to where those power supplies, they plug into your wall and then you hook your radio to it and it puts 13.8 volts to your radio? Or are you going to use lithium batteries or your lead acid batteries? What are you going to use for your power supply? And then also how to communicate during emergencies, outages, and disasters. So Brian and Susan are going to teach that. That's going to be May 30th. And that's also going to be, it's going to be right outside of Bowling Green. We've got a great little place. It's the Woodburn Community Center. It's where I grew up. That's a few miles down the road from Western. They've got a real nice little community center with a big outdoor pavilion to where we can set radios up outside, do field expedited antennas, all that stuff. But run over and check it out. If you want to get your tickets for it, it's going to be a one-day class, and that is Saturday, May 30th. And then also the two other things. We've got the pig processing class coming up on March 21st. That tickets for it are $200. Melissa, good morning. Tickets for it are $200 or $375 for a couple if you use the code KSLPIG. And then the sheep class is also, it's going to be April 11th. We're going to do 2, possibly 3 sheep. I've got 3 that need to be put in the freezer. So we're going to do 2, possibly 3 sheep that day. That is going to be April 11th. Tickets on it are $200 also, or $375 a couple. And if you use the code KSL sheep, that'll get you the $25 off. So that, and then let me check again. I checked a minute ago. I don't think silver is trading yet, or it might be. Let's see. All right. Let's see. Silver is down. It was the other day. All right. Yeah, let me look back. Yeah, the other day it was 91.06. It's down to right at $90 an ounce. So everybody keeps saying, oh, silver's going to hit $100 an ounce. Man, if it keeps doing what it's doing, it's probably going to hit $100 an ounce. And then, of course, there's a lot of these guys that are like, silver's going to be $500 an ounce or $1,000 an ounce. I don't know if it's ever going to get and do that, but I will tell you, the more silver goes up, the more the dollar dies. So if you're sitting on silver and bought it when it was 20-something dollars an ounce, you're sitting pretty good. But yeah, cut B, silver is below 90. Yeah, it's showing. Let's refresh it one more time and see. Yeah, it's at 89.94 is what it's sitting at right now. But it got up and hit almost 94 the other day. And I honestly think it'll probably break $100 an ounce I don't think it'll do it today, but I think next week it'll probably break $100 an ounce. So take that with what you will. I don't really know. I'm not a financial expert by any means, but I just know that as silver goes up, the dollar goes down, and it's slowly dying. So watch about that. So, all right, main topic on everything. If you locked your front doors today or locked the gate on your property, how long could you actually stay in your house or on your property? So it's not the whole how long you hope you can stay or how long do you plan to stay, but realistically with your current setup, how long could you stay in your house or in your property? Because really preparedness doesn't start when stuff goes wrong. It's more of a journey, is a lifestyle of how dependent you can be in your lifestyle. So think about it. Most people's goals are to stay at their place. I mean, my goal is to stay at my place as long as I can. One big reason, because it's familiar to you. You know the lay of your land, the lay of your house. You're not going somewhere else where you're unfamiliar with stuff. Your place is stocked. You've got all your stuff. That's your fortress of where all your prepper gear is, all your medical supplies, all your food stocks, all your pictures, all your family stuff. It's there and it's stocked. And also it's predictable. You know what's going on at your place. You usually know what happens. You know your neighbors. You know when they're supposed to be around. Vehicles they're supposed to be there. Vehicles that don't belong there. It's funny. Sometimes I will pull onto my road, and I live at the end of a dead end road, and there's a vehicle that I don't know that pulls in behind me. There'll be a vehicle that pulls in. I always drive real slow and make sure where this vehicle goes. And I don't know what they're doing. Sometimes it'll be a friend, stopping to see one of their friends and pull in. I'm like, okay. But sometimes these people will just pull up and they'll pull in the driveway and back out. So it's all predictable being at your house. So, but that's everybody's goal. I mean, but there are a lot of people that are in an apartment or something like that, and they're like, hey, my whole goal is when something goes down, we're going to stay here for a little bit, and then we're going to Joe Blow's house. We're going to go to his farm and hang out there. And they've pre-positioned supplies and stuff like that to be like, hey, we're going to stay here. And if it gets super bad, we're going to Jimmy's house and stay there. And Patty says minimum of 6 months. That's awesome. And L2 Survive, whole home solar with 2 solar backups, wood stove, well, septic, Starlink, backup comms, a walk-in cooler with enough food for 50 people for 6 months, stored propane, gas, and other fuels. And then he's got it. Plenty of scotch. My wife, my daughter, and my Bible. I think I'll lock the doors right now. Hey, L2 Survive, I tell you what, I would lock the doors too and just be like, forget it. We're not going to talk to anybody else or have anybody over. It would be, yeah, let's lock the gate and not worry about everybody else. And Dana's here. Look, you talk about her and she shows up. Dana says, realistically, I'd say 6 months. And yeah, those are awesome times. I mean, 6 months, and you've got to really sit down and think about it on what you need to stock for 6 months. It's a daunting task to say, oh man, we're going to stay here and not leave our place for 6 months. Heck, I know that there's people around that they can't stay at their house more than like a couple hours and they're going stir crazy, or they're just like, oh my gosh, a snowstorm one day, and they're like, holy crap, we got to get out and we got to brave this snowstorm because we need bread. And it's like, crap, why didn't you figure something else out? Or they've got to go get this, or they've got to go get that. I mean, some people are stir crazy. There have been weekends to where none of us leave the house or the property, and it's just like, we're run down. We're not going anywhere. We've got what we need right here. We don't need anything. We'd rather just sit at the house and work around here. So, leaving, and then the double side on it, leaving your house means you're going to be in traffic. If you're in a grid down situation, you're going to be in traffic jams. You're going to be in crowds. Think about it. If there's a widespread panic and you're like, holy crap, I've got to go get some stuff at Walmart. You're going to go up to Walmart. You're going to fight the traffic of getting to Walmart. You're going to fight the crowds. Everybody's fighting and screaming. Think about it like Black Friday, but with no rule of law. That's not a place that I want to be, honestly. Hell, I don't even want to go to Walmart on a good day as opposed to a grid down deal. You're putting yourself at a lot of risk being out. Whether this is going to be a grid down situation, something like a pandemic, a real pandemic, not a pandemic. And you've got a lot of unknowns on stuff. You don't know if there's going to be military checkpoints, if there's going to be roving street gangs, anything like that. Look at what's going on. And we're going to touch the third rail today. And people got pissed off. Well, one lady got pissed off because I mentioned Minnesota on Tuesday, but I didn't bow down to the great, whatever liberal gods and be like, that lady was murdered in cold blood. She was all over me in the comments. And I'm like, ma'am, your mental illness is really showing. You need to find your safe spot. But look at what Minnesota's going through. They've got riots and all this stuff. You don't really want to be traveling in that. I mean, that's kind of some stupidness. If you get stuck out, you're just wanting to go get formula or diapers for your baby, which you probably should have stocked up on before. But you're trying to get diapers and formula for your baby, and there's roadblocks, and people, they think, you're driving in an SUV. And there was a guy the other day, I saw a TikTok video. He stopped. He was a camera guy, and he was in a white Suburban. And a bunch of these protesters thought he was with a federal agent. And he stopped his car, opened the back hatch. He was like, hey, guys, I'm not a Fed. He was like, I'm a camera guy. I've got camera equipment. So mistaken identity. If you're driving a black Suburban or a white Suburban and you're just going to get something for your kids, and these riders are like, oh man, that's a Fed, and they start beating your doors in, you're like, I'm trying to get something for my kids. I'm not a federal agent. So look at that mistaken identity, the unknowns. And I mean, look at what's going on. So you got to look at that kind of stuff. It's not about escape. It's about not needing to go anywhere. And that's where staying at your house is. It's like, let's stay here. Let's make this our fortress and figure out what we need to do with that. And let me see. Cuckbee, speaking of snow, I'm supposed to get probably 7 inches by Sunday night. Cuckbee, keep the stuff up there. We want like 3 inches, 3, maybe 4 inches, enough to go sledding for a day, and then we're done. And then when figured. All right. Did the great toilet paper shortage during COVID affect any of us? No, we have plenty of toilet paper. And honestly, we have not bought toilet paper and I don't know when, because we are so well stocked. I've let it dwindle down a little bit. And I'm like, we need to grab a little bit more toilet paper just to have a bunch. But it's the whole mindset of, hey, I want to have enough stuff here. Toilet paper and paper towels are one of the big things. That and keeping plastic forks and paper plates. I keep a ton of those. That and then tons of plastic cups. We keep all kinds of stuff like that. But I remember the people at Sam's fighting over toilet paper and stuff like that. It's just like, these people are freaking nuts. So, all right. The probably the number one, let me see. Cuckbee. When figuring out how much toilet paper you need, if you have women that will have their period, my wife went through 1 roll in a day. Yeah, I mean that you can figure that, and then also getting female hygiene supplies and stuff. Have that on hand. That's a big thing to stock up on. Probably the number one and the silent stopper that's going to be on how long you can stay at your house is going to be water. You're not going to go 3 days. 3 days is like the max you're going to go without getting anything to drink. So look at it. You can last weeks without water. You can only last a few days or you can last weeks without food, but you can only last, a few days without water. So look at it. You're going to need water for more than just drinking. You're going to need water for drinking, cooking, hygiene, sanitation. Cuckbee, the toilet paper and having their period, that kind of stuff. You're going to need water for that. And I figure everybody says, a gallon of water per person per day. That's cool if you're just drinking water and not doing anything else. You're going to go through way more than a gallon per person per day. I typically tell people do 3 gallons. That gives you a gallon to drink, a gallon to cook with, and a gallon to clean your butt up with. But it would be nice if you could do 5 gallons a person a day, just to have some extra built-in leniency on it and have some extra. Because, I mean, heck, you might have some other person that you didn't plan on coming show up. So you're like, okay, well, we might be a smidge short on water, but we probably got enough. So most people store some water, but not enough. You know, some people are like, well, I've got 4 cases of bottled water. That ought to last me a while. That's not going to last that long. I mean, heck, 4 cases of water is not much. Heck, I've drank outside in the summertime doing stuff. I've drank half a case of water in a day. I mean, just staying hydrated, working. So you got to look at it. The preparedness stuff, as far as water and everything, store potable water. Have some way to collect it. Or well, go ahead and have a bunch stored up. Have some 55-gallon drums in your basement or your garage. You know, get some nice food grade drums, clean those jokers out, fill them up, throw a little bit of bleach in those jokers, and stick them in the corner of your basement, corner of your garage. Heck, you can put them in a crawl space of your house if you want to. That, or heck, you can leave them out as rain barrels if you really want. Get ways to collect stuff. And this is also if you're on a well. Just because you've got a well doesn't mean that you don't need some stored water. Think about this. If your well pump goes out, do you have a backup well pump, and do you have the tools and the skills to put in a new pump? So think about that. And also, you don't want to be running your pump all the stinking time. If you're going to have to run your pump off a generator, you're going to have to go out and fire your generator up every time that you're going to use that well. So it'd be advantageous with a well to have a good set of storage containers where you can run that well, pump your container full, and then shut your generator off and not have to run that all the time. So think about that. Also, ways to collect it. Do you have gutters and downspouts that you can hook up to these containers on your house, your shop, your chicken coop, your greenhouse, anything like that? My personal opinion, any roof that you've got, you should have gutters on it and a way to collect that water when it rains. You don't have to put it on right now, but have all the material sitting there ready to go, to where it's like, boom, we're going to need to start collecting water. Let's get out here and get these containers moved and get these downspouts hooked up to where we can start getting water right now. Don't wait a couple weeks. Let's do this thing right now. Also, you need ways to purify this water. Yeah, we're going to collect, we've got 10,000 gallons of water storage, but how are we going to purify that stuff if it's not good? If you're collecting it off your roof, you're going to need a way to strain it, a way to purify it, get all the little nasties and stuff like that out on it. So look at that. Water becomes a concern when you're staying at home because, one, water's heavy, and it's not super hard to store, but water is heavy. So look at that. And then one of the other limiting factors on all this is food. Most people judge the food by the quantity and not the quality. So get good quality food. Yes, you can just store all kinds of calories, but let's store some stuff that's good for you. Let's don't go get just cases of Frosted Flakes. Let's get some stuff that's good for us. And Dana says, currently researching the best way to filter my rainwater to become drinkable. Dana, call me later on and I will tell you the setup I've got for filtering rainwater. Or I can go over it super quick here. All right. I've got, and I think it's freshwatersystems.com. I've got no affiliate, no nothing with these guys. I just found them on the internet several years ago, but I called them up. They make the big canister water filters, and like the 10 micron and 20 micron and stuff like that, like the pleated filters. They make those, and they also make like the ceramic Berkey type filters. I've got those down in the shop, and everything comes in from the rain collection barrels, the IBC totes. It comes in. I've got a 12-volt RV pump that'll run off a just a regular 12-volt car battery, truck battery, whatever. So you've got that provides enough pressure to run the water through those filters. And I think it's a 10 micron filter. It runs through to get the bigger stuff, and then it runs through the ceramic type Berkey filters, and pushes through there, and then it comes out in the sink and the shower and stuff like that. So the girl told me, she was like, this will get 99.999 something percent of all your crap out. And I was like, is the water safe to drink after this? And she goes, yes, it will be safe to drink. And I forgot what that system set up cost me. I did all the plumbing and stuff for it, which is pretty super easy to do. It's not hard. We use PEX for all of it. If you got a PEX crimper and essentially a couple channel locks and some wrenches, you can put one of these things together real easy. But I think it's freshwatersystems.com is the website. But Dana, I can look all that, and if you want to give me a shout later, we can talk you through some of that. And then Forrest is here. Second Amendment helps keep the peace in red states. If what was happening in Minnesota was to try and start in one of the red states, I believe a cameraman mistaken for a Fed would let some freedom seeds rain. Yeah, it probably would have. I mean, this dude was like, no, I'm just a cameraman. He's like, here, he popped the back of his SUV open. There's just camera equipment and everything else going on. And then, of course, you see all this crap. These people are, I mean, hell, they're breaking into Fed vehicles and ripping their lock boxes, their strong boxes with their guns and all that stuff. They're ripping them out of the vehicles. And I'm like, how are these guys not freaking in jail and stuff? It's like, if I went through and spit on a window of a cop car here and somebody saw me do it, they'd take me in. But, you know, Lord help them, we can get all these people, these social justice warriors, you know, ranting and raving and tearing up federal property and everything, and nothing happens to them. They just run off, and they're like, oh, well, you know, taxpayers will pay for it. It's not ours. So, you know, just wait. We're going to have to buy new SUVs for all these federal guys because some crackheads and social justice idiots in Minnesota are tearing their vehicles up. So, all right, food, out of the rabbit hole, food. Staying at home is going to test some stuff. You know, keep it simple, you know, simplicity on stuff, energy, morale, you know, that's going to be tested because you're eating off your stored foods. You're not going to be able to run and get Mexican, you know, get your chicken and rice and cheese every night or anything like that. You're not going to be able to go get McDonald's. Part of that, ask yourself, can you eat without power? Figure out on how to do that. How are we going to fix food if we don't have the oven and the cooktop upstairs? Are you going to be able to cook? You going to be able to use your grill? You going to be able to cook over a fire pit? What's your plan? Do you have a wood cook stove in your place? Can you cook it without the fuel deliveries? If we're not being able to get propane, are we going to be able to cook without propane? You know, also, how long is that propane going to last if you do have propane? And are you going to use propane to cook with, or are you going to use propane to heat your house with? So you got to look at that. Are your stored foods familiar and easy to use? You got to figure that. You know, we're not going to be making quiche and stuff like that. So that's taking all kinds of stuff to do. We're going to be cooking a lot of basic foods. We're going to be cooking rice and beans, and we're going to be cooking meat and stuff like that. So are they familiar? Are they easy to cook? We're not going to be doing stuff to where, you know, we're not baking stuff and doing all this and making exotic dishes. We're going to be cooking basics to keep your butt alive. Michigan Silverback's here. He made it alive. Good morning, man. And foods, you don't want foods that require a bunch of special equipment to fix. You know, we're not going to be whipping egg whites and making meringues and stuff like that. You don't want stuff that's going to require a lot of preparation to do. It's like we need stuff that's going to go fast. We're not going to be spending all day baking cookies and baking all kinds of crap and stuff like that because there's going to be lots of other stuff to do. So look at it, stuff that's simple, not a lot of prep. And also stuff that doesn't require constant refrigeration. One of the biggest things that I've bought that I think is going to be pretty stinking nice to use, we use it a lot already, is it's one of the Anchor battery coolers is what it is. That it's got a lithium battery that will do it. It will take stuff and it will actually get down to freezing temperature so you can keep stuff frozen in there. It's got the battery. I forgot how long the battery lasts, but then it's also got a solar panel. so you can charge the battery while you're using it. But that's like a little mini refrigerator. So, it's like, hey, we're not going to be running a generator all the time to be running a big refrigerator. And in a grid down, you're not going to have, 2 gallons of milk and all this other crap and, a whole refrigerator load full of stuff. You're just going to have small stuff that needs to be refrigerated. So that is going to kind of bridge the gap of between a full refrigerator and no refrigeration. We use that stuff quite a bit. Like we'll go to Costco, and the closest Costco is down in Hendersonville, Tennessee, like an hour away. We'll go down to Costco, and it's always been, man, I hate to get some refrigerated stuff because we're going to go a few other places. We throw that in the back of the SUV and turn it on while we're going down there and get it cold. We throw all the stuff in there, and then we can do whatever we want to the rest of the day. No ice, no mess, no nothing. And it works amazingly good. My wife takes it to school a bunch, to our son's school, when she's doing stuff for outside and doing stuff for parties. I mean, the thing's freaking amazing. So look at that as far as refrigeration. Keep the thing charged on solar panels. You can also buy an extra battery for it, so you can be using the battery that's in there right now and charging the other one. So you've always got a constant supply of batteries going. The best, and kind of closing out the food part, the best foods is familiar stuff. It's repeatable and it's boring, but that's the best stuff. Yes, you can do different stuff. I mean, we don't have to eat oatmeal every day and rice and beans for lunch and dinner. It's like, it can be somewhat boring, but you can still spice it up with stuff. But it needs to be familiar and repeatable. And also, don't store a bunch of stuff that you don't already eat. If you're not eating rice and beans a couple times a week, don't store rice and beans. If you don't know what to do with wheat, if you don't have a wheat grinder and you don't know what to do after you ground your wheat, you probably don't need to store wheat because you're just throwing money away. And then the time to learn on what to do with wheat is when it's an emergency situation. Man, you're behind the gun. Don't store it if you don't know what to do with it. And I've seen, I don't know how many people, they've got all kinds of wheat, and I'm like, where's your grinder? And they're like, there's 3 things. Some of them will go, I never thought about that. Or the second person will be like, oh, I've got this Nutramil or whatever, and it plugs into the wall, and it's like, cool. So you're going to run your generator every time you need to grind wheat. And then the guys that are really good at it, they're like, hey, here's mine, and it's all hand crank. And I'm like, cool, that's what you need. So, all right, another thing to look at is power, heat, and comfort on your place. If you're planning on staying there as long as you can, you've got to figure out your power, your heat, and being comfortable. So power outages don't just remove electricity, they remove efficiency. So look at it. Without power, food prep's going to take longer. You're not just going to stick your Hot Pockets or your little Tostinos pizza roll things or whatever. You're not just going to stick those jokers in the microwave. Or you're not just going to go turn the dial on your stove and start heating up a steak or cooking a steak on cast iron, doing whatever. You're going to have to go out and build a fire, or you're going to have to start a fire in your cook stove and do it that way. It's going to take a minute for the cook stove to get warm before you can do much with it. So look at it. Food prep's going to take longer. The nights are going to get harder. If you think about it, hey, you're not going to be able to just turn your air conditioner on in the summertime and cool everything down and be like, ooh, I'm going to sleep when it's 65 degrees in the house and be nice and cool. It's like, it's going to suck. Or the reverse of that. Hey, it's going to get down to 17 degrees tonight or whatever. It's like, we're going to have to stay up and stoke the fire, and it's going to be boom. We're going to be cold tonight. We're going to have to throw an extra blanket on. Your stress is going to rise because everything is different. So you got to look at that, your stress. You're going to be hot or you're going to be cold. You're probably not going to be Goldilocks and everything's just right all the time. It's going to be a stressful situation. Cut V said, most humans aren't like cows. Cows want to eat the same thing all the time. Yeah, they will, and cows will eat it. Cows and sheep will eat the same stuff day in and day out. I don't want to eat the same stuff every day. Now I don't know. My wife kids me. She's like, you could eat like meat and green beans every day. And I was like, yeah, I could, but it's going to get boring. But I could eat a ribeye steak and green beans pretty much every day for a while. But eventually I'd be like, I need a little something different. But yeah, have some, have some variety in there. I know, especially kids are not going to want to eat the same stuff every day. Michigan Silverback. I could eat cheeseburgers and survive. I could probably, I don't know. I mean, I am like a meatitarian. I have to have meat. And I kid my wife all the time. I'm like, if you fix a meal and it does not have meat in it, it's not a meal, it's a snack. And she laughs about that. And I'm like, it's true. But I have to have meat. I mean, I get the cravings for meat, and it's like, I've got to have something like that. Forrest, I can never get bored with donuts. Hey, I tell you, I could, I don't know. It would have to be a lot of donuts for me to get bored. That's for sure. In my downtime and vacation, I have practiced alternative cooking and bushcraft stuff just to stay sharp. Yeah. I mean, you got to practice that kind of stuff and know how to do it. If not, you're going to ruin a lot of food. That's for sure. All right. Power, heat, and comfort. Your prepared homes. We've got backup lighting. You've got something figured out for backup lighting. For backup lighting when the grid goes down. You've got alternative ways of cooking, whether it's the fire pit out in the backyard or whether it's a charcoal smoker or a wood smoker. You've got that figured out. The alternative cooking, seasonal heating options. You've got a wood stove or a way to put a wood stove in when you need to, and all the stuff sitting there. So you've got a way to keep your house warm. You've got a way to passively cool your house. How many people don't have screens anymore? I mean, a lot of new houses I see, they don't even have screens in the windows. So you've got to think about that. And honestly, when I built this house, we didn't get screens for all the windows. I went back and started pricing screens, and I'm like, holy crap, these screens are stupid. So what I'm doing, I've got screen material downstairs. We rescreened a screened-in porch for a lady a couple years ago, and I had a bunch of extra screen left. And I'm like, for what these people want for screens for the windows, I'm going to build my own. So we're going to take one buys and build the screens out of that and stretch it over it so we can use that. I mean, so look at that, a passive way to cool your house. You've got to be able to have the windows open to where the bugs aren't just going to come in and annihilate you every day. Sanitation. Have you ever figured out what you're going to do about it? If you're on the city sewer, the sewers aren't going to work. And I've talked about it before. You need to have a backflow preventer on your waste system in your house if you are on a sewer system, because when the pump stations stop working, all the turds are going to start backing up and they're going to start coming through everybody's pipes. So have a backflow preventer on your house if you're on city sewer. That would be a 100% must. If I was on that, that's one of the first things I would go and do today is get one of those put in. So look at it. Ask yourself what happens if the water stops. So look at that. We've covered if the water stops, what are you going to do? Are you going to have water to flush your toilets? Are you on a septic system? What? How do you manage the waste? We're on a septic system here. So as long as I've got water to flush down the toilet, we're going to be fine. We're going to keep on using that thing until we can't anymore. Can you keep the things clean? Can you keep stuff clean? How are you going to clean? And this goes back to having enough water stored up. Do you have enough water to keep your dishes clean? Once you're done cooking, you've got to clean these dishes. Are you going to have enough water to do that? You're going to have enough water to clean your butt. You're going to have enough water to take a shower. Look at that. And Patty says, compost toilet, been doing it for 10 plus years. Yes. And I've got a composting toilet down in the shop. We don't ever use it a whole lot just because I'm not down at the shop a ton right now. But we've had it for a couple of years and everything runs pretty good with that. I mean, that's a real good option for a lot of people. So look at it too, the sanitation. You've got hygiene supplies. Cuck V was talking about women's stuff. Yes, you've got to have female hygiene supplies. You've got to have toilet paper. You know, you've got to have stuff like that. And this is also toothpaste. You know, you still got to keep your teeth brushed. I mean, just because we're in a grid down doesn't mean everybody's going to turn around with rotten teeth and all that kind of stuff. We need to still keep our teeth brushed. Probably still need some deodorant. I know everybody's going to be a little bit stinkier, but it'd be nice to have some deodorant. So, you know, soap, another thing. If you can make your own soap, keep making soap and stock up on that. But also go ahead and have a bunch of stock soap already, stock soap, shampoo, all that kind of stuff. Also, a basic sanitation plan. Know what you're going to do. Know where you're going to pee and poop. I mean, you got to know about that. Chris, hey, that's Chris Watkins. Good morning, Chris. And Patty says, store baking soda for toothbrushing. Yeah, and baking soda is like dirt cheap. I think you can buy like a 10-pound thing of it at Sam's for like next to nothing. So, Cup V says, I have septic tank, but have to pump to my drain field. Yeah, that's one of those things. It's like figure out a thing to run that pump. A lot of those pumps, I think you can run off an inverter and run batteries with it. I'm not 100% sure, but I know a lot of those have like a backup battery. So with ours, the way my house is set up, when we dug this basement out, we had to jackhammer about half of it out for rock. And I wanted to put my whole septic system at the basement level, but we got out there. I got the excavator out and started digging to where we were going to put the septic tank if it's going to be at the basement level. And we got like 2 foot down and just hit shelf rock. And my buddy is going to put the septic system in. He's like, dude, this is going to double, if not triple the price of your septic system. I'm like, let's put it up top. So now the only thing that we have to pump is when we use the basement bathroom. So we've got a bathroom in the basement. It goes into a pump and a pump, and it will pump it up to there. So in a grid down, we're probably not going to use the basement bathroom a whole lot just because I don't want to have to power that pump. So that's another thing you can look at. And Chris says, yeah, stocking baking soda and hydrogen peroxide, saltwater rinse as well. Yeah, that's good stuff. So part of your sanitation stuff is also medical stuff. Look at it. Do you have enough gauze, Band-Aids, alcohol wipes, peroxide? Look at all that stuff that you're going to need. Do you have that stuff ready to go? When you get cuts on your fingers, do you have alcohol to clean that off and some way to cover it up? Alcohol wipes and Band-Aids are going to be invaluable. Keep those cuts and stuff like that clean so you don't get infections in it, and then you don't have to use your antibiotics or your herbal stuff. It's just kind of one of those things. That's all falls in sanitation. More people are probably going to die of sanitation caused deaths and injuries than they are from gunfights. Just think about that. Forrest said, there's a cool product, dry soap and shampoo, easy to store in bulk. Yes, my wife has got some of that dry shampoo. That's the weirdest thing. She'll like spray it in her hair, and then it makes your hair all like fresh and clean or whatever. And I'm like, that's interesting. So yes, I've seen the dry shampoo. I've never used it myself. So I might try some of hers out and see how it does in this lovely mop of hair. Cut V says, pump is 120 volt, but our septic system was put in October, November of 2023 when we bought the house. Yeah. Cut V, I bet you could get a battery backup for that and run an inverter and see. It would be one of those things you'd have to sit down and figure out, draw and stuff like that. And then like Michigan Silverback, do a simple method to figure out current draw in order to choose a generator. I would take stuff. You got to figure out what you want to run on it. There's really not a simple method. You got to sit down and figure out everything that you want to run. You know, if you want to run your refrigerator, you want to run the freezers and this kind of stuff, you've got to see how many watts they're going to do. take that in and figure up all your usage on it. And you don't have to run everything at once. These people that buy a whole house generator and they're like, they bought a 20 kW standby generator for their house. They're just like, okay, we can run the whole house. It's like, that's cool, but I don't really want to run my whole house because you're running through a whole lot of stinking fuel. But I would sit down and figure out everything you want to do, figure up the wattage on that, and then also look at 220 volt stuff. Figure out what's 220 volt. Make sure you've got a 220 volt plug on there to run stuff like that. But figure up the wattage that you're going to run, and you don't have to run it all at once. Like your refrigerator, if your refrigerator is 1500 watts, and then let's say your freezer is 1500 watts too, that's 3000 watts. But if you're like, hey, I could get a 2000 watt generator and run that, run your refrigerator for a while, and then once your refrigerator's done and cooled down, take the refrigerator off and then plug your freezer in. So instead of buying, a 4000 or a 5000 watt generator, then you can go with a smaller generator and you just cycle on and off stuff. So you don't have to run all that stuff at once. I've got 4 different size generators just because we take it on different stuff. Sometimes on a job site, I'll have to take one of my generators to have power and do stuff like that. So I've got several different ones. The biggest one I've got is a 10 kW, and it will run a lot of stuff all at once. And then also you've got to look, if you want to run your furnace, you've got to figure out how big that joker is and how it's going to take a good sized generator to run that. But it's kind of hard. Michigan Silverback, if you want, I can sit down and figure out and do a quick little thing on that if people are interested. If you're interested in that, let me know and we can figure out and do a generator thing. And then Chris says, remember to stock P73 oil and oregano oil and garlic. Yes. Then Chris, my thoughts as well as you'll use a lot of fuel, specifically if you're on propane. Yeah, these people that run the whole house generators, I'm like, that's cool, but man, you're running a lot of freaking fuel through that thing. All right, you're welcome, Michigan Silverback. It's kind of hard to cover. I would have to sit down. I'll sit down and figure some stuff, and I'll make a note. All right. I'll make a note this weekend. I'll try to work on it. All right. Now let's do a realistic stay-at-home audit kind of thing. If you had to stay home for 7 days and not leave your property for 7 days, what's going to break first? So look at it. Figure out where your deficiencies are for 7 days. Let's try it and see. And then once you get 7 days, figure out what's going to be 14 days, what's going to be 30 days. You don't fix everything. You just fix what's going to be the earliest. If you look at it and you're like 7 days, holy crap, we're going to run out of fuel for our generators, and this is running our generators sparingly. If you're like, we're going to run out of fuel in 7 days, you need to take that seven things, just like Dave Ramsey's debt snowball. Do your smallest debts to your biggest debts and pay that off. So we're going to do our first failure point. We're going to take it. If it's like we're going to run out of fuel in 7 days, let's up our fuel storage. Then let's up our fuel storage. If you knew you're going to run out in 7 days, let's double our fuel storage. And then theoretically, that should get you to 14 days. And then keep looking at it. And you're like, okay, at 12 days, we ran out of water storage. So then you're like, hey, we need to bump our water storage up. We know we had 1,000 gallons, and I'm just throwing numbers. We know we had 1,000 gallons, and at 12 days we ran out. So if we double that to 2,000 gallons, realistically, we should get to 24 days. So then you can just keep doing this. You fix what's going to fail earliest. And as long as you keep fixing those things, you're just keep going up and up. So you can just stay in indefinite as long as you can keep going with that. Preparedness grows outward from your weakest link. So yes, you could have honestly a year's food, a year's supply of food, but if you've only got 2 weeks of water, you're kind of screwed. So it always comes down to your shortest thing is your weakest link. So look at it that way. let's see, could be get a temperature gauge for the fridge and freezer that have the sensors on the inside and a gauge on the outside. You can use those to monitor temperature when the power is out. Yeah, those things are great. And they've got them now that will send Bluetooth. You can hook it to your phone and it will send you an automated, like a thing. It's like, hey, your freezer's getting up, your freezer's at, whatever, 30 degrees and you had it set at 25 or something. You can always monitor it and it will send you alerts and stuff. Those things are great. And then they've got them to where you just like stick them on the outside and it'll tell you. I've been looking at those. I've yet to order them, but I need to. So, all right. Final takeaways of stuff. Look at it. It's not about how long you can survive. It's about how long you can stay stable at your place. And I hope everybody's goal, unless you live in an apartment or something like that, is to stay at your place and make it your fortress. So how long could your life remain stable where you're at? Your house is safe. Your house is calm, unless you've got some crazy people living with you or something or some kind of drama. Hopefully your house is calm. Hopefully you staying home is control. You can control what's going on around you and stuff like that. And honestly, take an audit today. After this, sit down, take an audit. How long could you actually stay at home? And start there. Let's look at it and find those weakest links and fix those weakest links. Sit down and take an audit on your food, your water, your energy, stuff like that, and and go from there. Do rainwater collection and have a way to sanitize. Yeah, Chris, that we were talking. Dana was like asking about that on how to sanitize the water. We've got ceramic filters that we run ours through down at the shop, and I've drank a bunch of water out of there and never had anything go wrong. But yeah, today, take the audit and look at it. What would be the first thing that made you leave? What is going to push you out first? What's one upgrade that's going to buy you more time? What's something you could do at your house today or get the ball rolling? Something that you could do at your house that's going to help you get the ball rolling on it to let you stay there longer. And are you planning for people or just supplies? You got to plan for all that. And Dana, do a seed inventory as well. Yes. And that's one of those things, production. Are you going to be a consumer or are you going to be a producer? And that's one thing. And I hope a lot of people are getting on the producer thing as opposed to the consumer. Yes, we're always going to have to buy stuff. Nobody is going to be 100% self-sufficient unless they have a gas well and an oil well on their property, unless they have a salt mine on their property. They're never going to be 100% sufficient. So that, and two, if you got an oil well on your property, you're still going to have to do that and make gasoline or diesel. So look at that. Do the seed inventory, and for root crops specifically, not just lettuce. Yeah. So guys, do the audit on your house. Figure out how long you can stay there. After this show's on, after you do the audit, I would like, after you do the audit, come back and comment, hey, I did the audit and I think I can stay at my house 3 months, or I think I can stay at my house 6 months, or realistically, we did the audit and we're screwed. We've got a week. So come back after this thing is done and tell me how long you think you could stay. And let's see, Swacko. Does anybody know of good rechargeable CR123s? I've got a couple from Amazon and they didn't last. I don't know if the Streamlights are rechargeable or not. Let me see. Surefire makes some. I pulled up. Surefire makes some and Streamlight makes some. So I just pulled it up. Yeah, Surefire's got a 123. Yeah, they've got a 123A that are rechargeable. I don't know. Let me see. That's the first one that just pulled up. I don't know. You might want to check Pale Blue Earth. Pale Blue Earth makes a lot of rechargeable batteries. They make the USB-C or the USB micro or whatever. They make those. And I don't know if they've got the 123s or not. I know they do AA, AAA, C, and D. I don't know if they make the 123s, but just pulling it up a quick Google search, Surefire had them. You might want to check In-Loop also. I've got a lot of rechargeable In-Loop batteries, and they work pretty stinking good. Swagam says, I knew Streamlight made them, but didn't know they had some that are rechargeable. Yeah, that's what it's showing on here. So take the Google guides on that and see if you can find it. Let me see. Cut me. If you're planning on bugging out and don't have a place to go, you're a refugee unless you live in the city or a major or maybe an apartment. Your goal should be to stay at home unless you have a place to go. Yes. And I'm 100% on that. You're a refugee if you're just going to be like, I'm scooting out of here. I'm going to grab my SKS and head to the woods like that T-shirt that's circling around. It's like, don't do that. Have a place to go, and then once you made plans with that person and you've had that place to go and you set it up, you need to keep the bulk majority of your supplies at that person's house, because you're going to wind up lowest form of transportation. If you got to take all your stuff with you and your car breaks down, you're going to be walking to your buddy's place. So you got to look at that, as you need to keep the bulk of your supplies over at that person's house, just so you'll have them there in an emergency. What we all need to do is look into a good, going back to wood burning stoves if you're not already using wood stoves. Yeah, wood burning stoves are awesome. I love my stinking stove that I've got down in the shop. We can keep that thing in the shop going. We can keep it 65 in the shop with a pretty good fire going. And it's amazing. I mean, other than, I used to use the old cancer can and the torpedo heaters all the time for warming the shop up. If I've got to have the shop super warm real quick, we'll still use one of those. But if I'm going to be down there all day, I'll get the shop warm with one of my propane or diesel heaters and then have the fire going, and it keeps it warm throughout the day. And yeah, Cuck V too. Talk to your insurance agent, and you do have to have a licensed contractor do it. If not, your insurance agent is not going to cover it. And a lot of the places now, they're real iffy about it. I talked to a couple of insurance people, and they're like, yes, you have to have a licensed contractor do it, and we have to inspect it and all this kind of stuff before we'll cover you. Let me see. DigiKey has a Panasonic brand, which Darren's had good luck with. All right, swack them there. DigiKey, the Panasonic brands. All right, guys, I've got a meeting at 9:15, and then another meeting after that, and then I've got to pack some orders. I tell you what, the bleeding control kits are going out fast. I've got to send a bunch of those jokers out today that people ordered the other day. So, guys, I appreciate it, and I will see y'all soon. I will be back on Tuesday morning. If you need anything, shoot me an email. If you need any medical supplies or radios, run over to the website, check it out. Also, check out all the workshops and training stuff we've got going, and the Homestead Meetup, January 31st. It's all free. Just bring a covered dish and sign up, and we will see you there. Guys, y'all have an amazing weekend. I appreciate you.